Hello everyone, Revan619 here, and this is going to be a little video aimed to help you with your choice paralysis going into DLC 3 for Rogue Trader. Just to note before we actually look at the origins, Hector is still the same as ever with her unique Bliss skill perception buff coming in from her Imperial world. Darius is also still the same, still a Operative Death World Crime Lord, but Operative is going to be a little bit better at range, and unfortunately no augmentation does not improve the melee. It's because all it does is just add stats and move them around. It was never bad because of stats, it was due to lack of abilities and talents. They've added a new pre-gen, Lamont here. She is a Death World Warrior Priest. Death World Warrior Priest, incredibly viable this patch, and I'll talk about that a little bit more because they've added augments that make this very viable. It's a Blade Dancer. Priest is probably, as an Executioner, is going to be an insanely meta pick, just the same as a Navy officer would. Baharda here has been changed to be an officer. So he is now an Imperial World Officer Commissar. So yeah, so that will help people that aren't creating their own characters. On the homeworld front, we can talk about how the augmentation works with Forge World. It doesn't actually give you extra stuff, it just changes the passive to augmentations. So before Analytics System was just the passive that comes in here, but now it will give you your 10 plus int bonus critical hit chance. You will take 50% extra lightning damage for being a Forge World. Locomotion Systems is the exact same, again more dodge, more MP based on your agility bonus, and some skin armor, again more armor based on your toughness, but like I said, it is now an augment. So let's talk about origin viability with the augmentation system. So Astra Militarum Commander is obviously really good for a officer and for a soldier. It uses fellowship, and you can still get a lot of free fellowship by playing Iconoclast and by just collecting the passive rewards. You'll actually be able to get more passive fellowship without ever leveling a point into fellowship. Then you can maximize intelligence. Unfortunately, there is no new intelligence gear other than a +3 from a drop, but Astra Militarum Commander is going to see a lot of stuff that will benefit it at close range, as well as some cover-based talents that will come into the augments there. So this one is going to be quite good, but it's not going to be exceptionally more powerful unless there's some really hidden late-game rate of fire augments that I didn't see and got updated into the live version. Commissar is still going to be incredibly good. In fact, we now can make our old Baelai. What there is a bionic implant that when you make single target attacks within enemies within 3 cells of you for either melee or ranged, you will get a laser shot straight out of your eyeballs. So this is quite good for a Master Tactician because it helps build up some attack economy, but it can be used on a variety of other builds. It's just something a little bit gimmicky. It's not that game breaking, but there are other augments that will give you bonuses depending on the weapon types you're using. So Commissar is going to be a lot of fun in this update. Crime Lord as a warrior or a blade dancer is much more viable because they're now augments to add toxin on hit, so you don't need to use Drukhari weapons, meaning you can branch out and try other things. Unfortunately, a ranged operative is still the way to go because melee operative just really doesn't have anything going for it. I tried it with Pascal, but for me in Act 2 could make 5 attacks, each dealing between 3 and 500 damage around with his plasma cannon. If I swapped to melee, he could make 170 damage attack around. That's it. He can't do more than that. Unfortunately, he's just not designed to do more than that because Operative has no talents and abilities for melee. You can in Act 4 just give him really OP gear and buff him up and call it a build, but it's not a build. It's just using Void Veteran Boots, Malpian Shroud, and Invigorating Resolve with an officer buffer. So unfortunately, it's just going to be ranged. But they have reworked a lot of talents for Operative, and Operative now has scaling talents for its damage talents and for its analyze talents. So I actually really enjoyed playing Operative. Arc Rifle's fantastic, and there's a lot of new lightning-based augments, so there is a lot of stuff to play around with there, but be very careful with any of your lightning-based augments because you can one-shot your own party. You're actually more deadly to your own party than the enemies are. Priest stocks are through the goddamn roof. Whilst Listening of Hatred did get nerfed this patch, augments make it so much better. Like I said, there's a lot of augments that can add chain lightning onto your hit, so you can just blow up the map, which can then also proc your execution stuff. And you can also do a lot to add toxin on hit, so you can use extra flame weapons based on Cleansing Faith with your power swords or your chain swords, and then you can add on the toxin stuff to your hits like that. And then you can even add in chest parts that will also chain lightning damage when you hit. Be very, very careful because I was trying this with Abelard and I just started wiping out my own party. Navy Officer has received a nerf to Fleet Combat Training, so Fleet Combat Training now will not proc from an area attack. So if you make a critical with your main hand, it needs to be a single target melee attack, and if you do it with an area attack, it will not do your offhand. You can still do the gimmicky gun build, and there are augments that will benefit it, but the offhand gun is still insanely weak, and it drops off immediately into Act 2. Like I said, it's okay for RP value and for lower difficulties, but on higher difficulties you will notice that the offhand gun is still exceptionally weaker than going dual melee, but dual melee is still very powerful, and there's a lot of augments that just benefit it, such as being able to move through enemies to damage them, teleports to damage them, but you take some self-bleed. There's augments that you can just become a WoW warrior, where you can take two-handed weapons and you can one-hand them, and you can dual-wield two-handed weapons. You can have a great sword and a power hammer, and you can just go ham it. In Act 2, these mods will actually make you weaker because there is a direct 15% damage nerf. And no, it's not like just 15% to your modifiers, it's your total damage is reduced by 15%. So you do an 0.85 damage. Yeah, it's weaker than just dual wielding normal weapons, but the Act 4 versions don't lower your damage, so that might be usable. Though it'll be hard to see them competing with either Carnage or Tearing Vengeance. Noble has not changed. It is still the worst archetype in the game, well, should I say Origin. The only archetype it works is Officer, and maybe you go Overseer, but it has absolutely nothing going for it. It's not really worth doing. It's like playing without an Origin. Sanctuary Psyker is still as OP as ever. The poison-based abilities didn't seem to stack with the poison arms, swapping them out. Especially in Act 2, I noticed nearly anything I could augment on the Psyker actually made me weaker because the negatives did not outweigh the positives, though Act 4 does change that. So maybe as a Psyker you want to save off going augments until you go into those later acts. Arbitrator, unfortunately on the test version, is bugged. Shotgun Mastery does not work, and it is a dead talent. Unfortunately, being able to one-hand those guns is the entire flavour of Arbiters for me, so it was not enjoyable. I would wait to see if they fix that on the live patch notes, because we're going to have a 1.6 balance patch, and a lot of things have changed. A lot of items have changed, a lot of encounters have changed, and I'm going to say this right now. I highly recommend you start an entirely new playthrough because they've added loads of new models, they've added loads of new cutscenes, there might be hidden voice acting, I don't know, I didn't spot any, but there was last time. There was, obviously, like I said, loads of new models, loads of new little cutscenes, and some of the early stuff you can miss if you don't go to it straight away. Augments are live straight from the prologue, and you'll be seeing stuff in Act 1, you'll be seeing stuff in Act 2, so the later you start in the game, the more you'll miss out. Not all of it is backwards compatible, and you will miss stuff, especially stuff on vendors and quest related things. As for my builds, I am going to be slowly releasing them, and I am sending them for members only to come out one at a time a day, but members will be able to get access to all of them. I'm unfortunately away from the 12th to the 15th, so I am trying to prepare all my materials before the 11th, before this goes live, because I've only had a week to get this done, and unfortunately I was working full time, so it was just surprising us at the Skulls event. So I'm going to be trying to get as much out as I can to help you as much as I can. All of my notes I've actually dropped to the members on my Discord, so the lowest tier of either YouTube membership or Twitch membership, if you link your Twitch or your YouTube to your Discord, it gives you some special channels on the Discord that's linked in every video, and you'll have all my notes, all my puzzle solutions, my work in progress build guides, my work in progress space map guide. I've solved space combat. I know how to make it very easy, and I know which items are actually the best ones, which ones work the best now, and what shields do and how to do that. So all my notes there are currently on the Discord, so do leave a comment, do leave a like, do get discussing with people. Yeah, do ask people on the chat. I will try to be checking it over the weekend. Unfortunately, I will be at a metal music festival with probably minimal signals, but I am going to be coming back to try and stream as soon as I can on either the Monday or the Tuesday. Till next time, I've been Ram619. Thank you all for stopping by, and I hope you're going to like the DLC because there are some really fantastic scenes that I'm really excited for people to see.